Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start. So good morning to everybody. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Carlos Moreira. I am the founder and CEO of WISeKey, a Swiss cybersecurity company. I would like, first of all, to thank you for your presence. I know that is times with COVID, it's very difficult to organize anything which is presential. This is actually the first time we address in the NASDAQ since we did the listing in 2019, December, so it's exactly 2 years. It's a pleasure to be with you. We are broadcasted, so a lot of people are following us online as well. And the objective today is to give you an update on WISeKey, but also to show you very interesting technology. And it's going to be maybe the first time ever you saw it, you will see it. And its technology then is being developed with cooperation with our partners, Casper Labs and Parrot, and its technology and Art Media, and its technology that brings the concept of the platform effect. You know, I think as the internet is moving in what we call the Internet 3.0, things are getting disrupted in many areas. And I think when you act as a platform, you have a much better opportunity to provide a better quality services to your clients. So just to give you a background, I founded WISeKey in 1999. I was the Chief Security Officer of the United Nations before, during 16 years. So my background is on high-end cybersecurity, government security, military security. And in 1999, after some discussions with the Swiss financial sector, we thought that there was a need for a cybersecurity company in Switzerland. Cybersecurity at that time was not obvious. 1999, people didn't care about cybersecurity. They thought cybersecurity was a nice thing to have, but not necessarily a must thing to have. And obviously, times had changed. Cybersecurity is number one concern now for CEOs and board of directors, as you could basically destroy the value of your company or your shares if you are listed, if you have a cybersecurity attack. But cybersecurity is complex. What is cybersecurity? It could start from identity management all the way to data mine through artificial intelligence data as a way to develop prognostic on data. So the cybersecurity is a very vast environment. The concentration of cybersecurity has been mainly in the United States, Israel, obviously China, Russia. They are countries that they have expand their cybersecurity offering, but it is very inefficient still. It's still, every day you will hear in the press that somebody got hacked, that Facebook lost the data, that Yahoo lost their emails. I mean, it is a constant issue. And the reason why the internet is not secure. The World Wide Web was developed on the top of the internet, the ARPANET originally. And cybersecurity was not part of their design. I know that you have so many CTOs here and others that they are following us online. When I was in the UN, the web was developed in Geneva. At that time, we already realized that the web, if they go exponential, which is exactly what happened, will have serious problem because the identity, the cybersecurity was not there. The idea of the web was decentralization, connect to websites in a very easy way, hyperlink environment, but in no way the web was designed to be secure. So obviously now we have a $20 trillion economy on the top of the web that has complicated enormously the thing. Companies then they have put a lot of our data, a lot of our identities, a lot of privacy. They're not doing properly, and cybersecurity is becoming a major problem. So the presentation today is going to be about updating our progress. As I say, WISeKey it was founded in 1999. Main focus at the beginning was on government cybersecurity, projects like e-voting, projects like national identity cards, projects like securing citizens on the platform, identity management, very strong background on identity management. We created a cryptographic root key at that time. So a root key is something that is the ground zero on the internet. If you own your own cryptographic root key, you have no dependencies to anybody else. Means that you can build a very sophisticated platform, identity management, and even in our days, NFTs, with total independency. So WISeKey together with RSA, Entrust, CyberTrust, DigiCert, they are the only companies that they have their own cryptographic root of trust, cryptographic root key. The root of trust of WISeKey has been downloaded 6 billion times. So we are in all browsers, all your mobile phones, all your PDAs, everything that you connect to the internet has already the WISeKey cryptographic root key embedded. So this is something that it will take maybe 20 years for a company to do it, because you have to wait until everybody downloads the root of trust, right? So once you have a private key under your control, it's very easy to provide a public key to your users, because there are two keys, the keys that you own, the keys that you distribute, and both keys allows you to enter into a trusted areas on the internet. So that's the first layer of defense, the first layer of cybersecurity process that we need in order to create the platform effect. So the way that has evolved over the years, and obviously after the listing of WISeKey on the NASDAQ, back in 2019 has been an acceleration on the company, is because we managed to integrate things that we knew was required, but it was not properly integrated into a platform effect. One was the identity management, cryptography, root key, but also how can I put an identity on inside an object? How an object, a camera, a drone, a connected car, a medical device, a pacemaker, a Medtronics device, how can they become unique through a unique identifier? So you need to put something inside. So we acquired a company back in 2016, which was a spin-off of Inside Secure, a French semiconductor company, that in the heydays, this company was making $300 million revenue because they were providing the microchips to BlackBerry. BlackBerry went down, and you saw what happened with the mobile space. So this company was a huge drop in revenue, something like 35 million, and we acquired them. By acquiring them, the vision was, okay, I have the hardware inside Secure, Volta IC. WISeKey has the crypto, the software. Can we put it together? Can I put my crypto inside a chip, and the chip inside a drone, inside a robot, inside a medical device? Can I do that? And exactly what was done. The integration of the WISeKey software now is embedded into the microchip, and this is what we call the Cybersecurity IoT technology. This is a massive growth area. We are connecting 1 trillion devices to the internet. Everything will connect to the internet in a few years' time. If they are not connected to the internet, it will be like not having your PCR test. You don't get in. So the same thing will happen with IoT. The problem is if you connect something to the internet without security, that object becomes the Trojan horse of any hacker getting into the rest of the infrastructure. So traffic lights, airport sensors, airliners, everything will need an identity, and everything will need to be embedded into the object. So on that area, WISeKey has 1.6 billion chips already out there. So we have 1.6 billion objects in the world, from Cisco routers to medical devices, and they are actually later you will see a presentation in the United States activities and some very good news that Richard will give you a debriefing on how the chips are being used here in the United States, with an interesting announcement we are making today. So as the market of IoT matures, those chips are becoming the only way that you can secure an object, and the only way that that object can send data to the cloud. Because why you need a chip is because an object needs to become an intelligent object. You have to move a non-intelligent object to an intelligent object. The data they send to the cloud, or their identity that they store in a ledger, like we are doing with Casper Lab, blockchain ledger, that data needs to be interrogated all the time. So every time you want to check that a drone is secure, you have to go. It's like sweeping a credit card. You have to check that the credit card is valid. In the same way, WISeKey checks that the identity of that object is valid. And every time you check, you can charge few cents of dollar for that activity check. So we are moving from the business model, and we'll get there later into the details of that, from selling the technology to charge the validation of the trustworthiness of that specific object. So what happened is that we suddenly realized that we were collecting a lot of data. WISeKey has one of the largest data base in the world of industrial objects. We are talking about petabytes of information per week. And that data, at the beginning, we didn't know what to do with it. It's data that we share with our clients. Sometimes we use it for analytical purposes. But obviously, if you do AI on the top of that data, you can provide a much sophisticated feedback to the customer. So we enter in, and this is new, this happened only last year, we enter into an acquisition of a German AI company with the name Arago. Arago was a company on KKR invested $55 million in 2014 for a $100 million valuation. There was a management buyout in Arago, and then WISeKey acquired Arago. The vision of acquiring Arago was mainly not so much because we wanted to acquire companies, but because we wanted to integrate their algorithm, HIRO, H-I-R-O, which is the artificial intelligence algorithm that Arago has. And the idea was that because we collect so much data, let's say, we are connecting drones, we are connecting cars, that data has huge value if it can be analyzed through AI. Because then we can provide pronostics on the behavior of the object, whether the object needs maintenance, doesn't need maintenance, whether the object can be improved. All that data back and forward between the object, the cloud AI, and back again to the object is where the Internet of Things is all about, is the fourth industrial revolution. And then WISeKey added that, and this is something that has allowed us to do very high level of automation. This is a very hot issue. Only automation companies like UiPath, they are trading at 100 times revenue with markups of 1.6. I mean, WISeKey is trading at 4 times revenue. Just to give you an idea where, from an investor's point of view, where the money is, right? I mean, it is amazing how American companies get such a massive valuation, whether European companies get such a lower valuation, because obviously our market is smaller and the visibility is smaller. But the opportunity is huge because it's very hard to find a company with those type of assets that is trading at 4 times revenue, right? Even analysts, they are saying we should be 18 times revenue only on that space. So just give you an idea, position from the investor point of view, the opportunity. So this has created a new WISeKey, right? Which is the WISeKey that started to be presented to the market this year after the integration of the different assets, integrating the microchips, integrating the cybersecurity, integrating the AI, and converting all that into a platform. With a uniqueness for a Nasdaq-listed company is that we are very strong on blockchain technology as well. So the vision for us is that the world will move to decentralization. Decentralization is actually the motto. People are moving from big clouds, from Facebook, from Twitter, from those aggregators into decentralizers. Users are more concerned now about their privacy, identity. They don't want somebody to own that for them. They are mature enough. I mean, we are not anymore teenagers of the internet. We are adults on the internet, so we want to own our data. We want to control our data through consent. We want to monetize our data. Eventually, data has a value. Data is the oil of the digital economy. And as a consequence, they are looking for companies and they can do that. This is the business model of WISeKey, is to protect the individual, put the human at the center of gravity. And that's, by the way, this book is all about that, right? Transhuman Code is how, and David will give us later some presentation, how you put the human in the center of gravity. For you to understand, because this might not be clear in the United States, the identity in the vision of Europeans, but mainly Swiss, because Switzerland, as you know, is a country where citizens run the country. I mean, or politicians are figurehead, but the country is run by citizens through referendum. Everybody's very much concerned about your identity. Your identity should be owned by you, not by Facebook, not by any identity company. It should be owned by the user. It's like your birth certificate. You don't want anybody to own your birth certificate and have the power to revoke your birth certificate. So identity should be owned by you. Identity should be decentralized. Should not be in one database and you have to pay for accessing that identity. So Ledger provide that services. And your consent means the consent you give as a way of somebody accessing your data, like Facebook, like Twitter, people, and their business model is all about selling your data. You should be able to have that consent. So you should be able to say to them, okay, eventually I want to give you my data, but I want something back. I want to get paid for it. And data has a huge value. If you divide the markup of the $10 trillion economy, which is data mining data, by the number of users, if you divide $10 trillion economy by a $2 billion user, you see how much one user worth per year, right? So the business of selling data is a business that has huge impact. And if that business can be decentralized, on blockchain, you put the power on the user and not on the platform. And plus of that is the object part. Objects are identity as well. So object data has huge value. Anyone would like to know the analytics of traffic lights in New York, because that will allow them to understand how traffic flow goes. Or they would like to data mine your connections, mobile connections. So data has a huge value. If the data is attached to your identity, you control your data. And this is the vision of WISeKey, to give the control of the identity back to the user and to empower their consent. Consent is the business model of the Internet 3.0. Consent means that it's like we do in our life. I mean, if you invite somebody to your house for having a dinner, you're giving the consent that day to having a dinner. But you're not going to give them the consent that come in to have dinners every day of their life, right? It will be tiring to do that, right? So you give consent per activity. I give you the consent today to access my data because I want something back, but tomorrow this consent is being withdrawn. In the current economics on the Internet 2.0, this is not the case. When you sign up on anything, Facebook, another, you're giving them perpetual consent of your data. Your data is not yours anymore. You become the product of the platform. So the vision is to create a platform that stimulate the other areas of the technology that WISeKey has. So you can enter through different sides. You can enter through IoT object sensors, as I explained. You can enter through digital identities by providing, and digital identity is actually an app with the name WISeID.com. WISeID you can download, it's free, and you have your own digital identity. You don't have to pay anything to anybody. Then you have the cybersecurity, because this is the foundation layer. And we will explain that later this afternoon with Casper Lab, is the NFT, the non-fungible token, which is a new thing that has emerged at the beginning of the year. There has been a lot of hype around NFT. Everybody emerged as NFT player. But actually, NFT is a bit more complex than just doing a NFT of a Picasso painting. NFT, you need to have a platform behind as a way to sustain the requirements of NFT, which are very stringent requirements. So all that collects data, and that data is then data mined, analyzed by Hero. So this is the platform effect I mentioned. I briefed it before on the semiconductor. Richard knows more than me on semiconductor, and he will give you later a very good view on the market. But our vision of semiconductor is that, and this is where WISeKey has put a substantial amount of money this year, is R&D on the semiconductor business. Why? Semiconductor is geopolitical. I mean, you saw what is happening in the United States with the fight with China, where suddenly, things got very difficult. Supply chain has been disrupted. That actually has created some tensions, even in our revenue model this year, because we couldn't supply as many chips as we wanted, because the concentration of the manufacturing of those chips is still Asia, is Taiwan. Imagine if China attacks Taiwan, what will happen? I mean, still already today, if you want to buy a new BMW car, you have to wait 7 months, 8 months, even a year, because the requirements on chips is so high that the supply chain industry has basically collapsed towards that objective to have 1 trillion objects connected. So having microchips in your company is a defensive technology. It's a technology you must to have. I mean, as you realize, companies like ARM was an English company, was sold to SoftBank, and then SoftBank sold it to, I think it was Qualcomm, or an American company. Then you have NXP, which was a Dutch company, also acquired. There are not many left. And WISeKey is one of the only left, and one of the only that has its own European-based chips, and here in the United States with a very strong focus on IoT. So if I am an investor in my portfolio, I want to have some cybersecurity, and I want to have some chips on it, because this is going to be strategic. In the future, there is not going to be Internet 3.0 if you're not going to have chips. You have to have the chips. And not being able to buy the chips is going to be a major problem. So our objective is to decentralize part into the United States. One of the reasons we are here, we want to have our own chip capability here in the United States. We are working on post-quantum technology. One of the threats on cybersecurity is quantum computer. Once the quantum computers will become mainstream, they will be so powerful that they will be able to break any crypto in the market now, including WISeKey. So we have to already think about how can our crypto could be upgraded using the power of the quantum computer once it will be there. So we have developed technology, you call that post-quantum technology, that simulates a post-quantum environment. So imagine that you have a quantum computer with X power. How can I use that power to create my own cipher that will I put in my chip? And those things are already in places. So if tomorrow anyone in Germany or IBM has a quantum computer, by the way, it's already some cooperation between IBM and WISeKey on that, we can immediately take that power and create our next generation chips. And chips needs to evolve that way, right? I mean, you have to be conscious that this is exponential. Humans, we are linear, so we go step by step. Technology is exponential. So technology will be much smarter and faster than we are very soon. And we need to design that world, how it's going to look like, the world where technology is going to be smarter than we are and more disruptive than we are. So this is some examples we're going to run now. This is by WISeKey operations with a medical company. So it shows the microchips, how those microchips are integrated. This is HID, OmniKey. So this company, it's a major buyer of microchips, and they use that in the medical environment. Those are health cards. The microchip is a WISeKey microchip, and the security identity into that microchip is a microchip of WISeKey. I mean, you can put that technology into any smart card. One of the things those chips are is NFC compliant. So NFC is near field communication. So you just put near to when you pay in a MasterCard in your coffee, you're using NFC technology. So this is one area which is going to grow very fast, especially now with the COVID situation. The health sector are realizing that they are actually very old. You know, the health sector is still on the previous revolution on the internet, and COVID has given them a possibility to go to a full digital transformation of the health sector. And this is going to be a massive business here in the United States for next year, which is how can I secure my instruments? I mean, imagine an insulin pump that is saving your life, and a hacker can shut down that pump remotely. Or imagine a hospital that could be totally encrypted. They will encrypt their data, and they could not use their data anymore. So hospital security is going to be massive requirement. And the connected devices that hospitals use, there are maybe 1% of them that are connected. The rest are not yet connected. So those devices are not smart, and putting identity and putting microchips on those devices are very important. This is only a mental picture on how the company is evolving. A few years ago, I will put cybersecurity as my major driver. Now cybersecurity is embedded here, but we are moving towards generating high-quality data. The companies of the future will be the company with data. Microsoft is a data company. Google is a data company. Amazon is a data company. Facebook is a data company, right? How they got the data? Different ways, some of them illegal, by the way, but they are there, right? The capitalization is there. So how to get into the data and being able to provide the best quality, neutral data, which is respectable to your, as a human user, capability is going to be essential in the future. Today, and this is I will give the floor later to Thierry, and he will explain you what art media is. But in the vision of the platform effect, again, when I talk WISeKey is a platform, what is it exactly a platform? So a platform is like an airport. You go through, you show your ticket, you show your passport, you go in the line, you clear your goods, and then when you are inside the area, you are trusted. Everybody, Like we know here that nobody has COVID because we were checked now. The same thing happens in an airport. You are inside an airport and you know that nobody has weapons, nobody can kill you, right? You are in a trusted area. Why? Because you have the check and balances before getting into that area. The internet doesn't have that. The internet doesn't have a secure area. The internet has places like, wow, you have to be careful with who is there, right? So what WISeKey is creating is that airport effect on the internet. So when you enter into the WISeKey platform ecosystem, everything in that ecosystem is trusted. Means that we have been checking the objects before getting there. We have checked the people before going there. We have checked the processes and even the documentation. And once you are in that area, you can do business. You can do whatever you need to do faster and in a more efficient way than if you yourself have to create that trusted area. So this concept of a trusted area, trusted platform of internet is the winning. And why companies want to do business with us? Because they don't want to do themselves. I mean, even very big company, when we go talk to Medtronic, or we go talk to BMW or Mercedes-Benz and they're using a microchip, they're saying, hey, I'm not going to build an entire platform for me. I want something I can plug in, and once I am connected, I benefit from everything you guys did. I don't want to develop my own AI. I don't want to develop my own blockchain. I don't want to develop my own cybersecurity and so on. I just want to plug and play. It's like the electricity, right? You just plug. You don't have to worry where is the electricity provider. So that's where we are moving towards, a plug and play secure internet where you plug into it and the platform will do the work for you and you don't have to worry anymore. So in that vision, obviously, and COVID has accelerated that, is people interactions. How people in the future will interact among themselves. Will they interact by coming physical to this room as we are now, or via video conferencing, or maybe we don't need to do that anymore. Maybe we can do it through holograms. So today, and this is going to be the first time ever, I think, in the NASDAQ, we're going to be doing that. We are going to be connecting a person in Paris, which is the CTO of Parrot, which is a very famous drone company that uses our microchips. Parrot uses the microchip inside the control command on those drones as a way to avoid that the drone could be hacked. Drones are weapons, right? I mean, you can weaponize a drone. You can send a drone against a plane or crash a drone in an airport. So it is essential that the control of the drone is 100% under the control of the user, authorized user, and that's what the WISeKey provides on that technology. So today, with the cooperation with our media, we're going to be beaming from Paris, the CTO of Parrot, and he's going to show us a drone in that box. So this is like a magic box, so he will appear inside that box. And that is actually the concept of the platform. In the future, that box will be thousands of those boxes around the world. We'll be on shopping malls, we'll be on airports, we'll be on World Economic Forum in Davos. We will demonstrate that. That means that I don't have to travel. I could organize a what we call holograminar, which is a combination between webinar and holograms, anywhere in the world in 100% trusted environment, because the hologram connects through the WISeKey platform. So what WISeKey does there, WISeKey checks the identity of the person. I want to be sure that the guy is going to appear is actually from Parrot. It's not a hacker from North Korea that is going to get into the line. So verification of identity is essential. I want to encrypt the line so all the information that he's going to tell us and are we going to tell him is encrypted and cannot be hacked or used outside the trusted environment. I want to give the impression on this person is here, so the human interaction, is so funny because we have done that in several places, including with robots. And at the beginning, it's kind of weird, but after 5 minutes, you get used to it. And after you have a normal discussions, as we could have you and I, just by looking at our eyes, right? So human brains are very fast in adapting to this technology and getting the impression that they are really talking to a person. So this is the idea. The idea, and this is where will be very interesting times for WISeKey next year, is that a lot of people with innovation, they are coming and say, wow, I mean, you did already the platform. I don't have to bother anymore. I just want to connect my robots. I want to connect my pods. I want to connect things into that platform. And you guys, you will do the security part of it. We do the user engagement part of it and the expansion of that. So this technology is actually being also used on physical environment, but also in a virtual environment. It means that we could do this event all together like in Zoom, but rather than having a 2D, we will have a 3D environment, and this is a very, very cool process. Anyway, I'll let Art Media to explain that later into full details. Another interesting thing, and this was my last year investment. You have been following Elon Musk's strategy going to the space with the interconnection between satellite. Space is the last destination. I mean, space is where we're all going to be very soon. I mean, we are just space now is what the .com was in 1999, right? We are at that moment where some people are creating some applications, sending some satellite, but in 25 years' time, the space is going to be amazingly disrupted. Everything will happen on space. Not only satellites, but also medical companies will test products in the space. Space is the final destination. Why? Because it is so easy to communicate in space. You don't have the gravity issues, so everything very heavy is very light. Security is there because it's very hard to hack the space communications. But the space was very expensive. I mean, if I want to send my own satellite, 5 years ago, I have to pay $100 million just to do it now. So we wanted to have our own picosatellites, which are IoT satellites. The vision was that if I have 1.6 billion chips already in objects, and I need those objects to send data real time to see whether the object is working or not, I'm not going to do that through the internet. It will be impossible, right? What are you going to use? 4G, 5G? Are you going to use LoRa? Are you going to use Sigfox? Too expensive, too cumbersome. It won't work. So the vision is, what about if we do it through the space? So we invested in a company in Madrid with the name FOSA. WISeKey took a participation last year, and we launched. Actually, we are launching the 10th of January 22 with the SpaceX. We are launching our first constellation of picosatellites. So those are not satellites to broadcast images or videos. Those are very tiny satellites. They are like a box. Imagine like a shoebox. This is the size of it. They are very light satellite, and you can put over 80 or 90 satellites in each of the modules of a SpaceX. You send to the space, opens in space, and they create a constellation. And that constellation captures the signal from the chips real time. So if I have a WISeKey chip with a container in the middle of the sea, no way to connect for supply chain logistics, for instance, or providing data to customs that this container has not been replaced, or cybersecurity on the container is not being violated, that data goes through the satellite. So WISeKey will be the first IoT company with chips with its own satellites. And the deal is done. SpaceX is sending that. The name is WISeSat. Actually, it has a special site with the name WISeSat.space. And suddenly, we started to get a totally new set of applications. I got the agricultural sector calling us, say, wow, can you provide from space traceability of olive trees in Spain during winter? Because olive trees needs to be monitored, that they are not sick. And if one gets sick, everything gets sick. And they need to send that data real time. And if you have a satellite, agricultural traceability will be so important. So we did actually a pilot project, putting chips on olive tree, and then analyzing the data, and then we'll go to satellite. You can put anything. You can put on your dog. I mean, you can put those chips anywhere, and the satellite will trace you back. So it will be like those Apple tags that you put down things, but you have to wait somebody with an Apple phone be next to it. There's no need anymore. That will be through satellite. Now, again, my thinking always on WISeKey is to be on areas that I think will become in the future disruptive, and I don't want not to be there on time, because then somebody will be there and I will be dependable of that company. So the same vision of cryptographic root keys, the same vision of microchips. I want to have my own microchips in the company. The same vision with satellite. Why? Satellite is in the future. That's why Elon Musk is putting so much money on Starlink and everything he does on the space, is because satellite will have gates. You will have gates. You have a China gate, you will have a US gate, you have a European. And if you are not a gate, you have to queue to have your applications into satellite. So having a gate, having a satellite access, even if people will say, well, are you really serious on this satellite? I say, yes, I am, because I want to have that level of control on my platform. I don't want to depend on somebody else. So this is a big industry. Those satellites actually are inexpensive. Contrary to the $100 million investment, those satellites, I can put a company satellite constellation for less than $2 million. So we can put an entire constellation. Minimum is about 10 satellites to cover the entire Earth. More you put, more sharp the signal is, because more time you cover. So we will be partnering with partners, logistic partners, transport company, DHL, kind of FedEx. These companies, all of them, they need that technology. And it's a way also, although, for a moment, SpaceX is saying to me, okay, maybe you are a competitor to, but we are going to send your satellites. So they are playing fair with us now. But again, I already thinking maybe one day they're going to say, hey, you cannot use the SpaceX anymore because you are competing with us. So we are also obviously signing contracts with another startups which are building their own transporters in New Zealand, in Spain, in Huelva. There is a new company developing their own rockets. And actually, that's another area that we are looking in the future, because you need to have the transport of your satellite to space. Otherwise, somebody can say one day to you, sorry, I don't want to send those satellites anymore. So this is the thinking process of being able to expand the platform. So although we're going to make a demonstration later, just to think in terms of how things get together here with the blockchain technology, because we were starting to store data on ledgers. For people that do not understand maybe blockchain, just to explain that, blockchain cannot be controlled because it's totally decentralized. So the blockchain is a chain of blocks that integrates all computers, then they are part of the blockchain. So more people get into the blockchain, more people buying Bitcoins, more people enter into cryptocurrency, more decentralized this becomes. And it's very trusted because every ledger has the memory of all other ledgers. So it is absolutely no way then people can manipulate the data, because that data will then be reflected in the other ledger. So it's perfect to store identity. I know that if I store my identity on a ledger, that identity cannot be tampered, cannot be manipulated, cannot be on. So we started to play with that. We did a lot of projects with companies like Casper Lab, Polygon, and others, trying to understand what is the play between identity and blockchain. And it was a hard confusion, because blockchain people are kind of dramatic. They say, no, the only thing you can do is with blockchain, you don't need anything else, which actually are not in agreement. I think the world is going to be a hybrid between verticalization, because we are still a vertical world, and decentralization. And this compromise is where we should be. And Casper Lab is actually a visionary on that. Because, for instance, some governments, they're saying, hey, I don't want to go 100% blockchain. I still want to control my data, my identity. If I want to give a passport to my citizen, I don't want anyone in the blockchain to be able to do that. They need to ask me to do that, right? So there are processes where the blockchain is good for decentralizing, but not for issuing. The issuing part needs to be done with cryptographic capability. So we started what will be the ideal object that needs both, to have an identity based on cryptographic delegation of trust, and at the same time needs to be in the blockchain. And then we look into art. We look into the market, which is phenomenal. I just came from Miami, Art Miami last week, and it's an explosion going on creativity, on an industry which was not properly represented on the internet. Internet was full of geeks and financial guys and politicians, but no artists. The artists would never use the internet, right? So now the artists are discovering the internet, which I think is phenomenal, because the artist will bring the design, the creativity, will bring another dimension of our brain that has not been exploited yet. And suddenly, they have a problem because when I talk to them, I say, look, I have a $5 million watch, or I have a $10 million painting. I want to establish a relation between my physical object and the virtual twin, the representation of my digital twin, how I do it. So then we say, okay, actually we know how to do it because we can put technology on that object through microchips, identity, that makes that object unique, because WISeKey has a huge track record on doing that. In Switzerland, 10 million watches in Switzerland have already a WISeKey certification, either with microchip, with the smart cards, Hublot, Bulgari, all these very big brands, Jacobs, they have been working with us. So the thinking of, if I have already the technology to certify an object, and then I can create a digital identity, which becomes the digital certificate of the object on the metaverse, then I have both, right? So we did it. We enter into this NFT world. If you check the share of WISeKey in April, they went ballistic, went 200% up, because we announced actually that our cybersecurity company was entering into the NFT era. And that created a huge attention into the market, because everybody is concerned that the metaverse that everybody talks could become just an extension of the issues that Facebook is having now. Facebook now is meta.com, but basically what it is that all their issues on privacy, on creating misinformation, is going to be aggregated and accelerated on the metaverse. It's going to look better on the same problem, right? So obviously there is a time now to reset back and say, no, guys, the metaverse cannot be the same problems that we have on social media, just augmented by the capabilities of the metaverse. The metaverse needs to be contrary, and by the way, the metaverse is a blockchain notion, so it's very interesting that Facebook took the metaverse. Blockchain is nothing related to Facebook, but obviously they did because they realized that the blockchain community was getting organized, and the metaverse could become the first truly decentralized environment where we could do everything in the future. Now, that friction between a centralized metaverse, which is Microsoft, Facebook, and any other platform that just want to keep their monopoly process on the internet, they are now just telling the users, hey, I can be your gate to the metaverse, but they don't need to be. I mean, the metaverse can be accessed by just minting your objects on a blockchain in a total decentralized way. So we developed this concept. We developed a platform with the name Wise.art, A-R-T, which is like a marketplace. It's like Amazon of NFTs. You create your NFTs, you mint it and you sell it. And we have done several tests this year. I don't want to necessarily become a marketplace, because that's a different business, but I wanted to develop one with our technology so we can white label together with partners. So what we are doing now is talking to our partner, watch manufacturers, hotel chains, and they want to get into the metaverse on their own metaverse and not through the metaverse of the social media companies. And there is an option for them to do so. The platform is fully operational. It's going to be demonstrated today at 2. We are partnering with Casper on that, which is an amazing technology play, and that's very exciting because we have now museums. I was in El Prado in Spain, where I went to the Louvre. I went to the Vatican. The Vatican, 80% of the art of the Vatican is on boxes. And I said, what about if we just bring from the box to the metaverse? And then with that experience, because people will pay, you can refinance maintaining that patrimony, which is massive. It costs them a lot of millions of dollars per year just to maintain that art. So imagine MoMA, imagine anything that needs to move to the metaverse, we'll do through the Wise.art application. Now, inside the metaverse, you then, by the way, just to show you how crazy we are on innovation, what we did actually is in January, we are going to be issuing an NFT directly from satellite all the way in Davos. So that will be a world first in Davos. Nobody have done that. Once the satellite is launched, the 10, the 17 is Davos. And the 17, we're going to initialize a connection from the satellite to a WISeKey Earth station, where we're going to be minting a NFT directly from satellite all the way down. So in the future, you could reverse the logic or say you could mint from the space all the way down to Earth. So this is kind of things that we like to do, integrating technology. So in that vision of the WISeR, so this is WISeR. You can check online. It's wise.art, platform wise.art. And here we have done, this was the original, it looks very ugly, the watch, but this is the original Hublot #1, which was the watch owned by Jean-Claude Biver, which is the founder of Hublot. He sold his company to LVMH. And this piece of watch, which was the Zero, was the, he calls that the étalon of Hublot, was the watch that has inspired the entire Hublot collection from there. If you realize, any Hublot watch looks very much like this one. So we did the world first NFT that was covered for New York Times. There was a huge amount of support. Then obviously the cooperation with Casper Lab, which will be explained later. We have with us the CEO and founder of Casper Lab, and that will be an amazing talk later. And the idea is to help the entire industry. Who says NFT doesn't mean only art. Things like intellectual property are being uploaded to the blockchain. Things like transactions, obviously new cryptocurrencies, everything is being uploaded now. And as I mentioned before, we have 1.6 billion objects with chips. How many of them, this is the analysis my team is doing now, how many of them they are NFTable? I mean, can we convert them in NFT? So we're going back again to the company and say, okay, can we do a drone NFT? I don't know, maybe we can, maybe there are objects that we cannot. But actually, the answer we are getting is yes, because if you do an identity NFT of an object, it becomes eternal. It can never be modified on the blockchain. So it's the perfect destination for any manufacturer, anybody that has a serial number, any luxury company that has expensive garments and they have just an etiquette showing. All that can be NFTable and put it. And more things go into the NFT, bigger becomes the metaverse and becomes an authenticated metaverse under the user control. Sorry, I'm just going to take some water. So here is a video just showing the next generation metaverse. So this is done. I don't know if you guys know Guernica. I'm sure you do. This is the largest painting of Picasso. Picasso, Spanish painter. During the Second World War, there was a village in Spain with the name Guernica that was bombarded by Nazis as a way to test their bombs before they attack the rest of the country, and the entire population was destroyed. Picasso got inspired, and he wrote, Guernica was here in New York for many years, and after was sent to the Spanish Museum. It's the Spanish masterpiece. This is, it's like the Gioconda of the 20th century. Is Sun here? Do we have Sun? No, Sun? Okay, no problem. Anyway, that's an NFT. So what it is, on the top, on the certification of the Guernica, you have now a video. This was done by a famous artist with the name Sandoval. This is the artist. And that video represents the story of the painting. I mean, that's his own creation. And it's very powerful. I mean, the music is extraordinarily powerful. And what you're going to buy, the person buying this, there's obviously not buying the Guernica because, first of all, the Guernica is not for sale. And if you will buy the Guernica, it will be billions of dollars, right? Well, but the buy is the representation of the video that then becomes owned by the person that has acquired the NFT. And the NFT has a certificate that proves that that person is the owner. So some people don't grasp what is an NFT is, and they say, okay, but I don't get the original. Why has any value, the digital twin? But actually it has huge amount of value. The NFTs are now, for instance, let's say that I buy the NFT of that watch. Beaver didn't want to sell, by the way, the original watch. It was his original, but he sold the NFT. And the NFT has what you call a smart contract, and in the smart contract, you define what are the rights of the user buying the NFT. So for instance, in the smart contract of Beaver, he'd say, if you want to create a hologram in my living room imagine you have a nice house, huge living room, you want to have a 3D hologram of a beautiful watch that is yours, not the watch, but the NFT. That hologram, if you touch the hologram, there will be a certificate say that NFT belongs to you. And this is irrevocable, it's on the blockchain, cannot be manipulated. And because the technology is evolving so fast, and you could see now with holograms here, in 10 years' time, the visual representation on an NFT is going to be mind-boggling. I mean, the NFTs will be in the middle of Times Square, floating around, and that NFT will be the property of a person. So all the royalties on those representations will be paid for the person that acquired the NFT. That's why NFTs are becoming so. When somebody pays $60 million for an NFT, people say, but it's crazy. How are you going to pay $60 million for just a bunch of images? But those images are going to evolve with the technology, and this owner is the perpetual owner of that technology. That's what makes that technology so unique. So now, artists are coming. Just to give you an idea, again, because this is the idea is also brief the investor community. The company OpenSea is trading $100 billion, right? And the only thing they have is a marketplace. Is exactly what we have. So people are willing today to pay $100 billion for a company that doesn't have cybersecurity, that doesn't have microchips, doesn't have any of that. The only thing have a marketplace, but it was one of the first marketplaces. So being on this NFT is very strategic, and this is an area that WISeKey is there. Now, why we believe we're in a very strong position? And it's because WISeKey managed to patent a process of, and this is a US patent, of method and apparatus for the digital authentication of valuable goods. We did that during the time we were certifying watches and jewelry and things like that. The idea was that if an object is represented on the internet, that representation needs to be done through this technology, and therefore we got a patent. So we got actually that patent. And that patent is very powerful on the NFT. Actually, we just announced that we registered a new patent on WISeKey on moving from that physical object to the valuable representation on the internet all the way to the NFT. And this is being filed. And this is an area which I think has a huge value because if we move into that direction, WISeKey is going to be a patented way to generate trusted NFT through a platform. The possibility of increasing the value of the companies are enormous through that patent. WISeKey also sits in a huge amount of patents which are related to the microchip technology design and microchip functionalities which are to be aggregated. So this is the way it works. So let's say Hublot, I mean, you saw the ugly one before, so that's the new representation. This is the new generation. So these watches have a number, always a serial number, which is produced by the manufacturer. What we do, we take those numbers together with the design, whether it's gold, jewelry, whether it's diamonds, and with that we create a unique identifier, a certificate. And that certificate is what moved from that certificate, which is recognized by any browser or any operating system, because the cryptographic root key is already installed. From there, you go all the way to the NFT, and you create your NFTs. So we can basically create 1.6 billion NFTs. And that's the offering we are doing with companies now. We are saying to them, okay, you want to certify your object. What about if we create the NFTs at the same moment? You don't have to bother anymore about it. You don't need to sell it. And the idea of the platform is not to sell it, because a lot of people are saying, I want to create an NFT, but I don't want to sell it because I know that this NFT in 10 years' time is going to value a lot more. So what the new offering we are giving to them is saying, okay, you can create your identity of the object, and automatically we will issue an NFT at not further cost, and we will put the NFT in our platform. If you want later to move to your own platform, or you want to do a deal with us on white label, that's fine. That's okay. So this again, if that will be a painting, the microchip will be embedded physically in the painting. We're actually working with insurance company now that they have the problem to insure a very expensive painting. An insurance company, they have to do all the work of traceability back to the painter, the provenance, which is very complicated because you can certify the wrong thing. So once this work is done, all that information they collect is digitalized and encrypted, and is stored in relation to the digital certificate that goes inside the painting. And then the painting generates that certificate, and that certificate is then stored in the Casper blockchain. So that's the process. Straightforward. I mean, now it's just question to get more and more museums, more and more art galleries that they want to do. We're also working with, there is a vision of the screens now. Those screens are very low cost now, right? And the quality, I mean, you can put that in the entire building there. So we are talking to airports, business mall areas, and they are saying, would you be interested to sell your NFTs into shopping malls, airports? And then I go with my mobile phone. Imagine that this is the Mona Lisa painting, and just by putting my mobile phone next to the screen, I will be able to extract the key from the screen into my mobile phone and buy the NFT. Or if I am an owner of the NFT, I can rent the NFT during an exhibition. Let's say that NASDAQ wants to have a party with all the screens. All the screen will be showcasing NFTs, and those NFTs will pay to the artist a royalty for the display that day of the NFT. So that's where we are moving, In the future, everybody has very high quality screens in the house. Rather of having idle or with a Netflix image, you would like to have a beautiful art that you don't want to buy, but you want to rent, and you are basically connecting to the WISeArt platform and extracting then and projecting. So that's the back end. So this is the data we collect. And that's the beauty of that, right? That always remember the data aspect of it. For us, the vision is we enter into this because this is collecting a lot of information that we can then use to provide analytics. For instance, the art business is very dark business. A lot of the art business is done on the dark web. People using art for money laundering. WISeKey is actually very focused on making sure that this doesn't happen. And this is a great way for us to monitor all the transactions. So this is 2022, and this is today. First time we present that, especially in the NASDAQ. Our vision was, okay, because people are coming to the platform, they need to buy and sell NFTs. I want that to be ultra secure, trusted. But what about if they are buying with Bitcoins or with other, I will call it anonymous cryptocurrencies? The problem with Bitcoin is great, right? I mean, I have it, my son have it. I mean, it's a great thing. But when you are using Bitcoin for mainstream transactions, that's why governments are concerned about it. That's why banks are concerned about it. One of the problems with Bitcoin is anonymous, right? No KYC. I mean, you open a bank account, you have to show your passport, you have to show your salary. I mean, there's a process of authenticating yourself towards the trust provider. That's not the case on blockchain. I mean, you can open a wallet and you become anonymous and you can do transactions. So what happens is a lot of dark money goes into the dark web, and then that black money could be used to buy an NFT and do money laundering through that process. So we have the United Nations, the International Red Cross has come into us and said, we'd love to do NFT, but we have to be 100% sure that the money that is being used to acquire those NFTs from us, because they are international organizations, is clean money. Cannot be money that came through non-authenticated sources. So what we did is say, okay, we will create our own currency. We will create our own crypto. So this is happening this year. We are next year, 22, we are doing that in Switzerland because now the regulatory environment in Switzerland is very open to that. So WISeKey is creating what we call a trust e-coin, which is a cryptocurrency that you will use inside the WISeArt. So let's say that I want to buy the Picasso NFT, $300,000. I have a Bitcoin wallet. I will, in that process, provide a KYC to the platform, convert my Bitcoins into trusted coin, do the transaction inside the platform, buy, and then go back again into Bitcoin. So we are not forcing the people to stay in trusted coin, but we want them to do it during the process of doing that. It will be another area, which will be anonymous area. You can still do it with fiat, or you can still do it with Ethers and others, but this will be for NFTs, and they are not, or clients do not put that obligation to have KYC process. So this is interesting for WISeKey for several reasons. Why is bigger becomes the NFT marketplace, bigger becomes the coin, right? The coin grows with the volume generated. So that's one area. Second area, that we educate the market to go to KYC, which I think is essential for cryptocurrencies. I think the anonymous cryptocurrency world, it's fun to have it, but when you're talking about big amounts, it becomes more complicated. So it will be important that they apply the same regulatory processes that you have here in NASDAQ or you have in a bank. And third, we will also position Switzerland. It's a very interesting country. Actually, Casper Lab is actually also in Switzerland. A lot of the blockchain company has selected Switzerland because the cryptocurrency legislation is very open and is a friendly country to develop this kind of models. So I give you some indication now about, sorry, question of time. How are we on time? Sorry? Okay, so I will just close here. But this is a position on the Arago Hero, which is the automation software. This is the one that powers all the data and analytics. And this is the position of Arago in the automation leaders, right? So the company is already entering. This is the company, the ecosystem that composes those leaders, and the company is entering slowly into that process. So we are at the same level that Microsoft is in that process. And this is now we are entering, but I'm going to give the floor now to the next speaker on that. So we're going to be entering into the financials. Okay, so what I think, first of all, thank you for, it was long. Thank you for your attention and time. We go through the agenda, and we are ready to, at 12, right, is the, now it's Richard, yeah, exactly, yeah, okay.